Ambassador Marcus Chen adjusted his tie and walked into the grand chamber of the Galactic Tribunal with the casual confidence of someone entering a coffee shop. The crystalline walls soared 300 meters overhead, designed to make lesser species feel insignificant. Holographic displays showed the assembled representatives of 47 civilizations, each floating in their preferred atmospheric bubbles or gravitational fields. The Zephyrian High Judge, a being of pure energy crackling within a containment suit, spoke with a voice that could shatter mountains. Human representative, you stand accused of violating 17 galactic peace accords. You will kneel before this court and accept judgment. Marcus glanced around the chamber, noting the elaborate ceremonial positioning of each species. The Thraxians hovering in magnetic suspension, the crystalline Vectar refracting light in complex patterns, the gaseous nebulans swirling in their transparent chambers. Everyone had their place in this cosmic hierarchy, carefully orchestrated to demonstrate the natural order of galactic civilization. Instead of kneeling, Marcus pulled out a simple folding chair from his briefcase, set it up with practiced efficiency, and sat down. The chamber fell silent except for the humming of various life support systems. "I don't suppose anyone has coffee?" Marcus asked, checking his watch. "It's been a long flight from Earth, and I haven't had my morning caffeine yet." The silence stretched longer. Diplomatic translators worked frantically to ensure the humans' words had been properly conveyed. Several species began what could only be described as agitated chittering, clicking, or energy fluctuations. The High Judge's containment suit flared brighter. "You dare mock this court? The combined authority of the Galactic Council demands respect." Marcus crossed one leg over the other and leaned back in his chair. "I'm not mocking anyone, I'm just sitting. Where I come from, we have this thing called due process, presumption of innocence, right to legal representation, burden of proof on the accuser, basic stuff." The Vorthak representative, a creature resembling a cross between a mantis and a business executive, leaned forward on its perch. "Human insolence. You have committed acts of war against the hegemony of Blessed Order." "Have I?" Marcus pulled out a tablet and began scrolling through documents. "Let's see. The charges mention violation of Trade Route Gamma 7, unauthorized terraforming in the neutral zone, and, oh, this is interesting, aggressive distribution of cultural materials. Could you be more specific about that last one?" The assembled court erupted in a cacophony of alien sounds, screeches, harmonic tones, electromagnetic pulses. Marcus waited patiently, occasionally glancing at his tablet. The High Judge restored order with a pulse of energy that made everyone's translation devices ring like tuning forks. "You established unauthorized colonies without proper permits. You introduced foreign species to protected ecosystems. You distributed your primitive cultural products across 17 star systems." Marcus nodded thoughtfully. "The colonies you're referring to would be the refugee settlements we built for the Kalari survivors, after their homeworld was destroyed by that asteroid, right? The ones we fed and housed while the Galactic Council spent 3 years debating humanitarian aid protocols." A uncomfortable ripple passed through the assembled representatives. "And the foreign species introduction, that would be the food crops we shared that ended the famine on Nexus Prime? The ones that grew in previously barren soil and saved approximately 40 million lives?" More uncomfortable shifting. "As for the cultural distribution," Marcus smiled. "You mean the music, movies, and books we shared freely with anyone interested? The same cultural materials that are now the most popular entertainment across half the galaxy?" The Thraxian representative spoke in ultrasonic frequencies that translated as barely controlled rage. "You violated established protocols. There are procedures, forms to be filled, committees to consult." Marcus stood up from his chair and began walking slowly around the chamber's central platform. "Let me tell you something about humans. We have this weird habit of seeing a problem and trying to fix it immediately, rather than forming a committee to study the formation of a subcommittee to evaluate the possibility of maybe thinking about it." He paused near the Kalari representative, one of the few species present that wasn't glowering at him. The insectoid being managed what might have been a grateful nod. "When the Kalari homeworld was dying, Your council scheduled meetings to discuss scheduling meetings. We showed up with ships and food. When Nexus Prime was starving, you debated agricultural impact assessments. We brought seeds and farming equipment. When the younger species asked for cultural exchange, you created a 47-step approval process. We shared our music. The chamber had grown quiet again, but this time it felt different. Less hostile, more thoughtful. Marcus returned to his chair and sat back down. So here's what I propose. Instead of trying to punish us for helping people, maybe we could talk about how to help more people more efficiently. I brought some preliminary ideas for streamlining humanitarian aid protocols. Also, he reached into his briefcase again. I brought coffee for everyone. Ethiopian blend. It's really quite good. He set a thermal carafe and stack of cups on the ceremonial judgment platform. The High Judge's energy field flickered in what might have been confusion. This is highly irregular. Most good things are, Marcus replied, pouring himself a cup. The smell of fresh coffee began to fill the chamber's recycled atmosphere. Now, who wants to actually solve some problems instead of just arguing about them? 3 hours later, the Galactic Council had drafted its first emergency humanitarian response protocol, established a joint task force for rapid disaster relief, and discovered that humans made surprisingly excellent coffee. The session officially ended when the Thraxian representative asked Marcus if he had the recipe for something called chocolate chip cookies. Marcus packed up his chair and tablet, leaving the empty coffee carafe behind as a gift. As he walked out of the chamber, he heard the High Judge's energy field crackling in what sounded suspiciously like laughter. Sometimes the best way to change the universe wasn't to kneel before it or stand against it. Sometimes you just needed to sit down and offer to share your coffee.